Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to a video talking about the latest news from the past week on COVID. Another update from me about the pandemic here in the UK. That's what they say, the recent news in the UK about vaccine passports and also the Pingdemic. I want to start off quickly by talking about the vaccine passports, which is going to be the biggest thing of the week. Now, basically, vaccine passports are being considered by the UK government. Boris Johnson addressed the nation on Monday from Chequers, where he's self-isolating following contact with Sajid Javid, who tested positive for coronavirus last Saturday, because he's the health secretary, following Matt Hancock's resignation last month. And Boris Johnson said that vaccine passports will become a condition of carriage from September, but could be potentially mandated in law. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We are trying to discriminate young people from taking the vaccine. We're trying to force young people to have a vaccine here. It's ludicrous. I'm sorry, it's ludicrous. And I have to say this: say no to vaccine passports. This is going to damage people's freedoms. To say you have to go to a nightclub to have 2 doses of the vaccine, it's just ludicrous. I mean, you're forcing young people to have the jab. Most young people who get this virus are fine. They recover, and most young people don't get severely ill anyway. Obviously, for vulnerable people, yes, I could see them getting vaccinated. But for young people, I mean, particularly people under the age of 18, look, it's literally, again, the risk of them dying is actually very low. So the risk of them getting serious disease is very low. So, because their immune systems can fight off. Obviously, if they're vulnerable, yes, vaccinate them. But, yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of interesting. And I have to say as well, I mean, you're planning on instructing people to use this vaccine passport, particularly they're saying in the pub as well. I mean, that's just going to be a nightmare to enforce. How a hospitality business is going to enforce this? I mean, it's just going to damage their business. And I have to say something as well on the subject of vaccine passports. How on earth are they going to enforce? As I said with enforcement, are they going to get the police to check people's contacts? Are they going to ask people to show COVID certification? Because they want people to use the NHS app. And we know the NHS app, and I'm going to get onto the app in a minute. We know that the NHS app isn't fit for purpose. It's an app that's had lots of issues when it comes to people getting contacted to self-isolate. We had issues with that app last year. So, why trust the NHS app when we know it's flawed from the beginning? I don't get this. And I think this is just going to be another measure. They're imposing another measure on our already fatigued businesses in hospitality. And I fear that this could be the end for some hospitality businesses. They're going to struggle to get money in with this. Will people even want to go there? It's just ridiculous. You're stopping unvaccinated people from dining out. It's ridiculous. And nightclubs as well are a big social venue. They've a lot of businesses like nightclubs have lost so much money because of restrictions. So, yeah. It's amazing what this Tory government are doing. It's amazing that it's just absolutely ridiculous that Boris Johnson wants to impose a measure on hospitality. Vaccine passports will not work anywhere. And I have to say that this COVID certification, I'm for it for summer holidays. I think for summer holidays, yes. If people want to go away abroad, bit different. But in social venues, in hospitality, in nightclubs, no. No, definitely not. And I think, unfortunately, look, it's crazy. And I think it's clear that the Prime Minister is being a little bit dystopian with this view. I have to say, I think it's clear now what is happening. Well, this is what Boris Johnson had to say during Monday's press conference at Downing Street about vaccine passports. He's addressing a nation here from self-isolation in Chequers. Have a listen to Boris Johnson.
I don't want to have to close nightclubs again, as they have elsewhere. But it does does mean nightclubs need to do the socially responsible thing and make use of the NHS COVID pass, which shows proof of vaccination, a recent negative test, or natural immunity as a means of entry. As we said last week, we do reserve the right to mandate certification at any point if it's necessary to reduce transmission. And I should serve notice now that by the end of September, when all over 18s will have had their chance to be double jabbed, we're planning to make full vaccination the condition of entry to nightclubs and other venues where large crowds gather. Proof of a negative test will no longer be enough. Now, let me stress, we want people to be able to take back their freedoms as they can today. We want this country to be able to enjoy the fruits of our massive efforts and of our enormous vaccination campaign. But to do that, we must remain cautious and we must continue to get vaccinated. And that's why we're asking you to come forward and get your jabs now.
Now, I don't have to say, like, this is an absolute... I mean, Nadeem Zahawi, the vaccines minister, addressed Parliament just today about this. And, I mean, look, this is going wrong here. That it's clear now that opposition from MPs is growing. The Tory backbenchers, including the COVID recovery group led by Mark Harper and Steve Baker, have come out and voiced their concerns about it. Steve Baker was on GB News the other day, I think, or GB News actually this morning, on with Tom Harwood and Mercy Muroki on GB News, being asked a question about the vaccine passports, and he said, frankly, they're just discriminatory, they're wrong, and it's just going to mean problems for hospitality businesses, and it's just simply I mean, even Labour look like they're going to oppose this. Keir Starmer, Labour leader, by the way, said they were un-British. I mean, look, I mean, to be honest with you, I do think the Labour Party do offer no opposition to the government whatsoever when it comes to actually giving them opposition, because they've backed the government on everything possible. They even backed the government on the 21st June delay. But yeah, I mean, it's clear now that the vaccine passport row will continue, and I do think this will dominate through the summer, because what the government fear is that in the winter they fear things are going to get bad again with flu, seasonal viruses, seasonal respiratory diseases, and they think COVID could end up potentially, there could be a little winter outbreak of COVID, and they're going to want to use vaccine passports. COVID is now officially an endemic disease in this country. Why are we forcing British people to have vaccination? I mean, it's personal responsibilities here. And I just think these vaccine passports go too far. I mean, even Nadeem Zahawi said they'll be discriminatory. Then they're planning on mandating this. There's just too many U-turns. This was a big U-turn. It's one of the biggest of the crisis so far. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And frankly, I do think we could even see a Commons defeat if potentially this does not get enough approval from MPs. So Parliament will be on recess now and will be back in September. So I'm sure there could be a vote on this very soon about vaccine passports. I would certainly be voting against it if I was an MP anyway. So that is vaccine passports. Just want to quickly finish with the NHS Pingdemic now in this country. And I tell you what, not great from what I'm hearing so far. Around this week, I think around 830,000 people have now, over 500,000, actually it was about over 800,000 people have been pinged by this app just this week alone. And yeah, I mean, I've been hearing reports that some businesses have had to shut down. Supermarket shelves have been panic buying again in supermarket shelves. This isn't lockdown. Lockdown's been replaced with a ping down. A pingdemic. I mean, some businesses just are losing staff because the self-isolation rules, which are not due to end till August 16th for fully vaccinated Brits and also people under 18. I mean, this is why we're having issues with schools with disruption. It's utter madness. This date for 16th of July for the end of these self-isolation, they need to be brought forward, because I fear there will be a lot of companies out there and a lot of businesses who are going to be voicing concerns about this. Because as we know, the NHS app is one that is not fit for purpose. We know it's not very effective at the test and trace system. It's not very effective. I've seen many people not getting contacted to isolate. I didn't when I isolated last year. I had no contact whatsoever from the NHS. I had the app on when I was at my college last year. When I was told to self-isolate, because we had the bubble system. When I was told to self-isolate last year, I didn't get any notification from the NHS to say that I was self-isolated. So I wasn't contacted to self-isolate. But they should have let me know. And this is what I mean by the test and trace system. It's not working at all. And look, I mean, now that most of these self-isolation rules are going to be ending, do we need the test and trace system? It's clear the government believe the NHS app is what they call world-beating, like they said last year, because it isn't world-beating. There are problems with the app. It keeps having issues. The test and trace system as well is having problems. And this app is now starting to really get annoying, because people are now going out of work. They don't feel like they've been in contact with positive cases. And as we know with Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, they had the option to do the test and release pilot scheme, which is what so many businesses are doing, where you have taken a COVID test, like a lateral flow, and if you're negative, you can go in to do essential work, and then if you're positive, isolate. They could do something like that, but it's to stop you self-isolating. But we are heading for a summer of chaos. I mean, we just had the lifting of restrictions on Monday, the so-called Freedom Day. This doesn't feel like Freedom Day. There's going to be a load of people out there who are going to be concerned about their businesses right now. People who are having to self-isolate just for being pinged as a close contact, or getting pinged by this app. I do feel very sorry for loads of people, because it's really not great. A few difficult weeks ahead for some businesses. I mean, this isn't going to last all the time, but it's going to last for a good few more weeks, because these self-isolation rules do not expire till the 16th of August. So, yeah, we're looking at least at another potentially 2.5 weeks, maybe even potentially 3 weeks of chaos with this app. And I think people have got to accept that if you get pinged, and they've even said to NHS staff who get pinged, they don't have to isolate. So, look, the messaging for this is very mixed. There needs to be a proper discussion about whether this app is even fit for purpose, because I feel like this NHS app isn't fit for purpose. And again, it's the same with the vaccine passports. Something has got to be done that's got to make sense. So that's my video. That's what I'm going to say today. And thank you for listening to today's video. Any questions, please comment down below, and I'd like to hear what your opinions are. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.